MoMondays Halifax. Welcome back to number 2.
We had the most marvelous time. In fact, it was probably the best vacation we ever had. And as we had watched the money build in the Florida jar, we had had this brief moment where we thought, should we do something more practical with this money? You know, maybe we should blow insulation in the house or put in a second bathroom. And then we said, no, we're going to go to Florida. Now, if there are any of you in the audience who are thinking you really should put off that family vacation and do something more practical, don't. My husband died about 15 years later, very unexpectedly, and some of the best memories we have are those trips to anywhere, but probably most importantly, that first trip to Florida.
Well, what I really enjoyed the most was being an adult student, because I would be in the classes and I would be there and there would be plenty of 20-year-olds around me and they would complain about assignments, which really entertained me considering they were paying to be educated and then they were complaining about being educated. So I always found it very interesting, but I knew I was different from them and that was okay. So in 2009, I graduated from Mount St. Vincent, 16 years after starting. So at that moment, I'm sitting at convocation. I have my degree certificate in front of me. My father actually had passed away in 1993, just after I started. So for me, it was a wonderful moment where I knew he was up there saying, you did it, just like I told you you would. But when I realized at that moment I had actually done it in 16 years, I was 4 years ahead of schedule.
These high adventure items, I was told by society that they're supposed to be my high adventure items. They could actually be for many people, and I'm not trying to dog that, but the point is I realized they weren't for me. So I started rewriting the bucket list item. And the cool part about it is I went and shared the talk, and it went over really well because I talked about living your bucket list. So what I want people in the room to think about is, are you living somebody else's bucket list, or are you living your own? And I thought that was the transformation, just that I realized, oh my God, I'm doing a new talk now that's rearranged itself. But the real transformation came after that. The after that was all of a sudden, when I got a chance to sit down and take this all in, I realized that it changed my perspective on life. All of a sudden, I realized that I wanted to live my life every day like it was my last, based on what I would do on my last day. And so for me, one of those things is I had never told my mother I loved her in my life. Since that day, I can tell you that I tell my mother I love her 99.9% of the time when we hang up, and if we forget, usually one of us texts it. My mother's now into texting. Usually one of us texts it after the fact. The point is that's something that I'm proud to have on my bucket list, and I rate it high above skydiving.
The consumer said, look, you know what, I like those records, I love your music, but I want to take it on the road. I like the radio, but I want to take my music on the road. So the music industry said, you know what, I'll give that to you. You can put this in your Woody wagon. You can roll the windows down and drive along and listen to the Partridge Family. There's no life like it in the 70s, was there? But that's how the music industry stayed relevant. The consumer said, I want to go on the road, so here's a vehicle to do that. And then, in the 80s, the consumer said, you know, the 8-track is nice, but I hear there's some better quality, and I really would like to get more music on these vehicles you keep giving us. So then they come out with these, the cassette tape. You could get probably about 15 songs on a side. You didn't even have to get up and flip it over because your tape deck would automatically play side B.
The medical strategy had been to fight and destroy the enemy. And how do you do so for an autoimmune illness? You simply shut the immune system up by shutting it down. But no matter how much the doctors attempted to silence my immune system, I could still hear this voice calling from within me. My entire early adult life had been about living energetically through a healthy diet, plenty of exercise, and conscious awareness. It was a lifestyle that I felt could get me through any challenge, no matter how big or small. It was a life that was shaped by that voice inside of me that simply knew what to do. To the dismay of my doctors, I halted all drug therapy. They called me a quack, and they told me I had a death wish. But I had to trust what I knew.